When you think of Florida, your mind probably jumps straight to sun-soaked beaches. But beyond the shoreline, this land stretches out into vast fields and sprawling farms, and with them comes a serious challenge: wild hogs wreaking havoc. These cunning creatures use the rolling hills and dense thickets as perfect cover to hide and multiply. Today, join my crew and me as we venture deep into these rugged backcountry terrains, exploring the landscape while taking on the mission to protect local crops and livelihoods. Our journey begins at dawn, when the early mist still clings to the hilltops. This is prime time. Wild hogs are most active after a night spent foraging. We have to make the most of this golden window, because though their vision is poor, once they catch the scent of danger, they vanish like ghosts. Dawn bore witness to a fierce showdown. The beast charged down the hillside with fierce vitality. My shot found its mark, but it refused to give in. I had to fire a second round, taking down that stubborn creature for good. Not a bad way to kick things off, right? Across the hillside, a lone target moves steadily. The world narrows through the scope, just the crosshairs and the prey. Without a moment's hesitation, David gently squeezes the trigger, and the bullet completes its mission flawlessly. The quarry is down before it even knows what hit it. They sow chaos everywhere. We plant seeds of peace in return. On this barren patch of territory, a solid shadow moves steadily. Suddenly, it halts, wild instincts warning of danger. Its hesitation is my chance. No way I'm letting it slip away. I squeeze the trigger, and BAM! The curtain falls as the villain meets its fate, the destructive wild hog. It stopped for a moment of doubt, and I acted to make the land richer once again. Leaving the hills behind, our pickup truck carried us down to lower ground. Here, the distance between us and the prey could be just a few steps. When a full-grown wild hog weighing hundreds of pounds bursts out from the brush, there's no room for joking around. Out of the brush, the wild hog suddenly charges. The only gap it has to cross is the narrow trail, and that's John's one and only shot. The moment it hits the edge of the woods, his bullet flies, putting an end to its desperate run. It runs on instinct, no strategy, while we win with one bold, skilled shot. The rustling in the brush signals the prey is about to appear, and I'm the last line of defense. When that massive wild hog tears through the undergrowth, charging at me like a suicide bomb, there's no time for fear. At the moment it's just an arm's length away, the shot rings out, taking it down on the spot. Does this pressure and ambush tactic deserve a perfect 10, guys? The tension thickened as dusk fell, with dogs barking loudly, signaling the prey was about to be pushed into the open. I gripped my rifle tight, ready for whatever was coming. Then it appeared. The first shot hit true, but the hog still charged toward the woods. The second shot ended its run forever, a perfect ending to a full day of hunting. closing out a successful day's work. Our powerful Tesla Cybertruck carried us home, the bed packed full of hard-earned trophies.
In Texas, my uncle's farm was torn apart overnight by a horde of wild boars. Despite being an experienced hunter, this time the sheer number and boldness of the pigs overwhelmed him. With no other choice, he called in our hunting crew for backup. After finalizing the plan, we began our hunt right on my uncle's property. To lure the boars in, we set up automatic feeders. Attracted by the scent of food, the pigs arrived quickly, eagerly foraging every last bit. With their guard down, Marist steadily took her position, locked on her target, and 1, 2, 3, fire! A single clean shot. She dropped the boar with remarkable precision and confidence. At the same time, my buddy Inda and I spotted a few other boars lurking nearby. I closed in, picked my target, and squeezed the trigger. The lead pellet from my air rifle struck the boar's body. Startled, it let out a sharp cry before collapsing. It wasn't a huge win, but it felt damn good and got me fired up. With strength in numbers, we split up across the area to maximize our chances. Each of us focused hard, aiming with care and executing fast, decisive shots. The mission: drop as many as possible before nightfall. The next afternoon, we resumed the hunt on the farm grounds. Right as we arrived, we encountered a sizable group of full-grown boars. They stood frozen, watching us warily. I quickly brought one into my scope and fired. A single shot, and one of them hit the dirt instantly. We moved toward another feeder we'd pre-positioned. The boars hadn't noticed us yet, still caught in the invisible trap of their appetite. From a tall stand, I lined up my rifle and waited for the perfect shot. One squeeze of the trigger and the sharp crack of the rifle echoed. The boar dropped in a flash. We kept spreading feed and waited as the sun dipped lower. True to their nature, the greedy pigs couldn't resist the scent. No matter where they were, I crept closer, hiding behind a bush, watching them from a distance. Once my target was squarely in range, I pulled the trigger. Just one well-placed shot, and the boar dropped on the spot. As night fell, we returned to our enclosed hunting blinds for the final round. I picked a good position, steadied my aim, and when the moment was right, fired. Perfect execution. The shadowy figure dropped back and lay completely still. Amid the peaceful green wheat fields of the northern European countryside, a silent enemy is sowing fear and devastation. Wild boars. We farmers could no longer sit by and watch. Together, we rallied and rose up in resistance. Follow us on this breathless journey, where every bullet fired is a declaration of our fight to protect the land and our way of life. Early in the morning, before the sun had fully risen, we arrived at the field to begin the wild boar hunt. Before us was an infuriating sight. A whole herd of massive boars brazenly feasting on the tender young wheat stalks as if they owned the land. We could not bear it any longer. Anger welled up inside, and we were forced to raise our rifles. I aimed at one of the boars on the outer edge, slowly bringing it into my sights. It seemed to sense danger and paused for about a second. That was all the time I needed. I squeezed the trigger decisively, and the first destroyer fell instantly. That first shot sent the herd into chaos. They scattered in panic. Without missing a beat, we quickly pursued and crept closer. Still targeting the strongest boar, I locked in and fired. This time, the gunshot rang out louder, a stern warning that we would not back down. And at last, the final dark shadow collapsed. As we moved through the area, we encountered another boar. It was so engrossed in the wheat stalks, it didn't realize a rifle was silently aimed right at it. A careless target, and for a hunter, that's an opportunity not to be missed. I quickly adjusted the barrel and pulled the trigger. The boar collapsed instantly, and perhaps it never imagined that sweet breakfast in a wheat field would also be its last meal. There were so many boars in this field. We only had to walk a short distance to find another target. But this time, luck wasn't on our side. The bullet only grazed it, and the animal escaped before we could land a second shot. As daylight grew stronger, we planned to head toward the nearby forest, believed to be a gathering spot for wild boars. Suddenly, during our advance, a boar burst out of nowhere, wild and aggressive. I stayed calm, unfazed, raised my rifle and pulled the trigger. With one single, well-placed shot to a vital spot, the boar dropped instantly without a chance to fight back. After about 20 minutes of walking, we reached the area we intended to raid. Out of nowhere, from behind a stand of trees, a wild boar suddenly darted out like an arrow. I seized the moment, pulling the trigger twice in quick succession. In an instant, the enemy was eliminated. But it wasn't over yet. Another boar charged out. And this time, with just a single clean shot, I dropped it right on the open ground. At last, we reached the hunting zone where we were officially allowed to open fire. Under intense pressure from the hunting dogs sweeping through the forest, the wild boars began to pour out in growing numbers. In a frantic rush to escape, they had no idea we were lying in wait and had been meticulously planned ahead of time. As soon as a boar entered our line of sight, it became a locked-in target with no chance of escape. Some of the more desperate boars chose to hole up deep inside the thick forest, believing it to be a safe haven. But that misjudgment would cost them dearly. They didn't realize we had anticipated this and had already set up ambush teams at every possible escape and hiding place. Whether they ran or hid, in the end, they were all trapped within our circle. enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more. Recently, city officials have been receiving a wave of reports about wild boars storming into residential areas, causing chaos and posing a serious threat to public safety. This kind of thing has never happened before. These animals usually stick to the outskirts, damaging crops in the rural zones, rarely daring to enter urban areas. But now, their sudden and reckless behavior has thrown the entire city into a state of high alert. And so, we were called in, a team of professional hunters, mobilized for an emergency hunt. We pinpointed a mountainous forest area surrounding the fields as the likely hiding spot of the boar herd. The terrain was rugged and visibility was limited. Spotting the targets wouldn't be easy, but this time we had backup, a pack of battle-hardened hunting dogs. As soon as the dogs started barking, we split up and moved into ambush positions from multiple directions. The boars panicked and a moment of pure chaos, but also the perfect chance to strike. We opened fire. Gunshots echoed through the forest. The smell of gunpowder mixed with the agonized squeals of wounded boars. The scene looked and felt like a real battlefield. A few initial targets were taken down, but the rest of the herd wasn't given up that easily. The hunt wasn't over. There were still plenty of targets on the run. We had to move fast if we wanted to bring down as many as possible. While scouting the surrounding area, suddenly, a massive wild boar burst out of the bushes. The situation escalated in the blink of an eye. But I kept my cool, lined up the perfect shot, and pulled the trigger. The whole forest now felt like a war. Boars scattered everywhere, from huge herds to lone runners. But no matter how fast they ran, our hunting dogs were relentless, staying hot on their trail. There, I held my breath and squeezed the trigger without hesitation. The shot landed, the target darted off in a frenzy, but there was no escape. A well-placed bullet sealed its fate. No time to rest. We kept moving, combing the area for more targets. More wild boars, trying to make a run for it. We wasted no time, throwing everything we had at them before they could do more damage. Everything was going smoothly. From my ambush position, I managed to take down several more targets. But that last shot startled the rest of them, sending the herd fleeing in panic. They tried to hide, but the dogs didn't let up, and neither did we. We weren't about to let any of them slip away. After all the destruction these boars caused, we were determined to show no mercy. We gave it everything we had, tracking, chasing, and taking down even the smallest targets. Just when we thought it was all over. On the way back, I was caught off guard, more boars moving along the hillside. I didn't waste a second. I raised my rifle and aimed at each one. They tried to escape, but I was just as fast. Gunshots rang out, one after another, and the targets dropped like dominoes. The thrill of the hunt is real, but behind the adrenaline is a very real danger. These wild boars aren't just destroying crops anymore. Now they're threatening people's lives by invading the city. Wild hogs first appeared in Texas in the late 17th century, originally just a few stray animals. But over time, their numbers have exploded to over 2 million, causing more than $500 million in damage each year to agriculture and the environment. With the situation spiraling out of control, Texas authorities have taken drastic action, organizing helicopter hog hunts, turning the skies into a battlefield against these destructive beasts. We lifted off right as the clock struck 4 p.m. The helicopters soared into the sky, marking the beginning of our battle against the wild hogs. Look over there. Isn't that a massive herd of hogs? They're everywhere. I quickly loaded my rifle, held it steady, and began to take aim. The roar of the engine blended with the rapid-fire gunshots. With my opening volley, I landed a clean hit. The rest of the herd scattered in panic at the sound of gunfire, but we immediately gave chase, closed in fast, and opened fire. Within seconds, several more hogs were down. In another part of the sky, Neil's chopper was circling above the fields, scanning for me. With years of hunting under his belt, Neil had no trouble locking onto targets and taking them down with precision as soon as they entered his sights. Our team pushed onward toward a wide, open grassland. This time, Ralph was the shooter. The helicopter dropped to a lower altitude, giving us the perfect angle for a clean shot. Ralph steadied his aim and unleashed a barrage of bullets. Wherever we flew, hogs fell. The entire area turned into a relentless sweep, leaving no room for escape. What we really wanted was to find larger herds, since they cause the most destruction and reproduce at an alarming rate. After about 10 minutes of circling, we spotted the perfect target. We moved in swiftly. I didn't hesitate. I squeezed the trigger without delay. But with the constant vibration of the rotor, bullets sometimes veered off course. Often, we had to fire multiple times before finally bringing them down. The next morning, we were back in the air, ready to hunt again, this time with a new companion joining us. Our first destination was a stretch of land bordering the fields. It didn't take long before the first target revealed itself, a lone hog sprinting across open ground. But it couldn't outrun the hail of bullets raining down from above. It collapsed almost instantly. The helicopter pressed on steadily. This area wasn't dense enough for the hogs to hide, so no matter how fast they ran, there was no escaping their fate. Everyone stayed locked in and laser-focused, aiming and firing with deadly precision. In the blink of an eye, gunfire echoed across the sky, and the hogs dropped like flies, scattered across every stretch of land we passed. It was an inevitable fate for these invasive creatures, whose rampage has haunted this region for far too long. Hog after hog fell, so many that we lost count. But no matter how many we took down, it still felt like just a drop in the ocean compared to the explosive reproduction rate of this species.